Okay, welcome to the short video describing the minimum steps required to set up a Unity project on GitHub. Okay, so I'll just first of all log into GitHub. If you don't have an account, you need to create one. So I'll just sign in here. And here we go. So we sign in. This just gives us what it really wants us to look at, just to have a look at the list of repositories. Obviously, if you haven't one before, this will be empty. Or if you haven't created any repositories before, it'll be empty. So the first thing we do is we create a new repository and we give it a name, Unity repo. Now, obviously, it'll be a different name. Make sure it's public, and we just choose the Unity gitignore. Okay, again, to understand what's happening with these, you might want to look at the longer version of this video. So we create the repository. So the repository is now created, and we click on here, and we make sure it's HTTPS, and we copy the URL. Okay, so this is effectively the same URL as up here with a .git at the end of it. Okay, we now go to our local machine, and we open up Git. Well, I'm going to use Git GUI. So type Git GUI and start that application. And what we want to do is we want to clone an existing repository because we've just created that on the cloud or on GitHub. And we paste the URL, what we just copied up there, and we select a target directory. So we browse to this. I'm just going to place this on the desktop for the time being. Obviously, you could choose to put it anywhere you want. Now, one thing you need to do at the end here is you just put backslash and give it a name for the folder that you want to put the repo in. Okay, so I'm just going to go repo for the time being. Obviously, you choose a name that's more suitable for you. Okay, click clone, and all things go to plan. That should clone the empty repository down onto our machine. Okay, so for the time being now, we minimize the Git GUI here. Just have a quick look in here just to make sure. And we can see the only thing in there is the gitignore, which was automatically generated. So next we start up the Unity project, or we create a Unity project. So we do that through Unity Hub. And again, if it's the first time you're doing this, this would typically be empty. So what we'll need to do is just create a new project, and we select all templates, 3D core. We give it a name. Again, this is just test project. Just scroll down just to make sure that you want to put the location somewhere where you'll be able to find it. So for the time being, I'm just going to put that on the desktop. And we select the folder and we create the project. Okay, this may take a while just to get up and running. Access. We're just waiting for this to get going. There will be a longer version of this video which will give more insight and give a few links, and I'll obviously link that video at the bottom of the comment section below. Now, just to confirm this test, you can see it has been created here, and if I was to double click on it to have a look at it, you can see it's creating a lot of folders. Typically an empty project will be in the region of 17,000 files and 1,000 folders. So obviously it's quite a big project, or it can be quite a big folder, a lot of files in the folder. So obviously we're going to need to prune that down because an awful lot of them are just generated every single time Unity is run. You do not need them to recreate the project, which is what you're going to want to do when you move it from one project to the next. Okay, so you can see this is Unity. It's up and running. It's been busy now for 1 minute. So while we're at it, I'll just show what we're going to be doing is we'll go be moving the test folder here, which is the Unity folder, which contains, as I said, over 200 meg of data or of files, and we'll be putting it into the repo folder on our machine, and then we'll be pushing that up to our GitHub repository, and we'll be ready to continue on with the project. Okay, so while we're at it, we might as well have a look at the repo folder and the gitignore. So the gitignore is basically telling the Git GUI, or when we go to send our files back up to the GitHub on the cloud, it basically says don't bother with any of the things that are referenced in the gitignore file. So for example, we have the library directory, the temp, the obj, the builds, build and builds, logs, and memory capture. Okay, now while we're at it, over here, there's another folder that I will be asking you to ensure that we don't send up, just to see if it's actually been created here already. So if I go into test here, we can see it has a folder called user settings. Okay, capital U, capital S. This basically will hold information about the the layouts and stuff like that, the way you set up Unity. So in general, we don't want to send that up because the layout for one person is going to be very different to the layout for another person. So if you are working in a group project, you don't want these things messing, your setup to be imposed on other people. So in the repo here, I'm just going to open gitignore here with Notepad. And I am going to, in here, just going to go backslash user user settings. Okay, just make sure, just go back to test. You can see user settings. That's correct. So this should allow us to ignore also the folder with user settings in there. So I'm just going to save this. Okay, and close it off. Let's see where we're at with Unity. So we're still importing. It's 4 minutes in now at this stage. And if I was to go back to Git GUI here, we minimized this earlier. And if I was to rescan this, I can do that now. All you can see is obviously the gitignore has got the change in here. Now, obviously, if we move the folder in, then it would obviously should register all the changes in there. The idea behind this that we would ideally just only have the bits that we're interested in. But I'll show you in a minute, when we do this first, it won't actually ignore all of the folders in the way we'd expect it, because it's assuming that the gitignore is assuming that the folders that you're trying to ignore are basically going to be in the same folder as the gitignore, but it's not, because the way we're going to do it, we're going to pull the whole folder in. Therefore, we need to move the gitignore into the folder in question. Okay, now I think this looks good. We've created the Unity project. We'll be talking about this later, not what I'm interested in this video. So now that it's created, I'm going to close it down. There's no other application accessing the files. You can see the folder itself, the test folder here. Just have a look at it in here. If I was to right click and open and look at the properties, as I said, it's just short of 17,000 files, just over 1,000 folder and 290 megabytes. on the on the disk. Okay, so it's a very substantial project that are folder for an empty project. Okay, so again, what I'm trying to say is we don't need all of that. We hopefully wouldn't need to send all of that up to the GitHub on the cloud or to the repo on the cloud. So I'm just going to move this into our repo folder. So now when we look at the repo, we see our Unity folder and we see the gitignore file. And if I go back to the Git here and I was to rescan it this time, it should take into account now that we also have all of the files from the Unity folder in there. So, and as you can see, it's displaying 5,000 only of the 16,000 files. It's not ignoring what we should have ignored. Okay, so to get around that, all we do is we move the gitignore here into the folder, that's the Unity folder. So it's in the base now of the Unity folder. So when it looks for a folder called library, it'll be there. If it looks for a folder called user settings, which is our one, it'll be there. So again, if I was to rescan now in Git GUI, it has changed from how many 16,000 close 70,000 to whatever number this is. And just checking, we do not see anything here with user settings, which is good because we put that in ourselves. So again, this is good. We've rescanned. I'm happy now at this stage to send things up. So you stage these guys, 30 of them are now down from 17,000. This is good. So it's now saying, do you want to continue with these untracked files? Yep, we will. We just put a quick message in. So created repository and added empty Unity folder or empty Unity project. Okay, now you sign off, which basically puts your email, gives you contact details for the person who did this commit. So we then commit and we push. Now, so typically this is the setting, what you're looking for would be master and origin. Origin, basically the remote and the origin is where you're basically sending it to. So that's your GitHub account. So when you click push here, now if it's the first time you've done it on a given machine, it might ask you to re-sign in through the browser and you'll have to do that then. So now you can close that now. That's done on the local physical device in front of you. We've sent it up. So let's have a look now on the drive. So when we're up here, we can see that it has updated the master and you know the master's recent pushes. It's good. Actually, just there we go. So the master had a push 1 minute ago, which is correct. It was well, that was just what we sent up. And we can see we have now two branches, the main and the master. Okay, so the changes normally go to the master. So what we want to do is we want to basically merge that in with the main and kill the master, get rid of the master. So we compare and pull request to do this. As you can see, the arrow here, it indicates that we're going from the master, sending stuff to the main. Okay, again, the commit message comes in here. Now, if you wanted, there was other issues that might arise, you probably could put some stuff in here just to add some comments. So you can now create this pull request and it checks to see if there's any conflicts, if there's stuff that two people were trying to write this, write on the same line, write different stuff on the same line or different areas. So there's no problem here. So we merge the pull request, confirm the merge, and now you can delete that branch. And now you go back up to the top here, your unit repo, and here we go. We can see that the test is in there. If we want to go into it, it was updated 2 minutes ago. So this is the repo folder. It now contains the folder for Unity, and you can see the assets. This is the essential stuff that was in there with the gitignore as well. And that's it. That is how you set up your Unity project with GitHub. Okay, again, if you want more details, There's a longer video that will be available through, well, I'll link it in the comments below. Okay, so thank you, and we will talk again soon.